We're going to be using BetaFlight to set up our controller. So I'll go ahead and list in the description the link to download BetaFlight, to also download BlHeli, which we'll more than likely need. And also ImpulseRC. All this will be linked at the bottom or in the description. Okay. Okay, after everything's downloaded, go ahead and pull up BetaFlight, and then we're going to plug in the USB cable. Okay, before we plug in the computer, let's go to firmware flasher. And we're going to be using an Omnibus F4. If that's not listed here, you can just go into the pull down and find it. The information on the type of the board that we're using in our controller setup is in the manual, and actually it's on the very front of that manual. And that came with your controller. Here we're going to choose the latest version. That's stable, and there we go right there. And we'll leave this the way it is. We'll load the firmware. Okay, now that that's done, let's go ahead and plug in the computer. Let me interrupt for just a second. You have your cable plugged into your controller, but one thing before you plug into the computer, press the boot button, and it's located right here, and it's also located on your manual. It'll show you where it's at, but it's right here. Press in the boot button and then plug it in. Now after you press the flash button and it does not flash, it fails to flash, pull up ImpulseRC, and that will allow then the flashing of the controller. With all the drivers that you downloaded with the program, you'll still more than likely need this to get it to work. Let it do its thing, and then let's hit flash firmware, and you can see here it's erasing everything. And we'll let it go through its thing. And it's flashing it now. So in the description, all those links are there. Get them downloaded, load all the related drivers that goes with it, and it'll tell you what it means. Okay, says it is successful, and that's good to know. Okay, with it plugged in, let's go ahead and go to connect. You'll see that if you move the quad around, it's not acting like it should. It's different directions. But if you'll remember that we had turned the controller and the ESCs to the left, pointing to the left. So we'll correct that in just a minute. Let's go to UART3, and this is serial receiver. If you remember, we used the Evolution receiver, and we sorted it into UART3 when we did the install. Let's save, and it'll reboot. Let's go to configuration, and of course, this is what we're using, xCloud. This is the front, this is the back, and that's just how we're set up, front and back. We'll leave all this the way it is. And here, we'll put 270. That's going to correct for how we turned the controller in the ESC. We turned it to the left and we moved it 270 degrees. Let's do save and reboot. So real quickly, if we take a look here, we're facing, and you'll see that it matches now. Okay, everything's working. At this point, make sure that your quad is flat, on a table, and go ahead and select Calibrate Accelerometer. When that's completed, the controller will know what's level, and you'll be ready to proceed on. So let's go back to configuration, or move on to configuration, and we'll leave all this the way it is. Craft name, we're going to put QuadLugs. Of course, you can name it anything you want. I'm reaching really far to type this in, so it's taking me a little bit longer than usual. Anyway, whatever you want to name it, put it in. If you don't want to name it, you don't have to. We're going to leave all that. Now here, we're going to set up our receiver. We need a serial-based receiver, and we need to put iBus. And if you remember, we had picked iBus in our transmitter when we did the setup. Okay, that's what you want there. Here, there's tons of information that's on the net. I'm not going to get into all of this. If you want to, set something up special, you can try it and see what it does. There's no problem with doing that. All we're doing here today is a quick setup to get you flying, and it'll fly well. And you can do all the changes you want to as you get to know the system. And again, tons of information, tons and tons of it. So anyway, we're going to leave all that like it is. We're going to leave that. We're actually good to go here. And if you need any help on any of this, please get with me. And, I'll give you a hand if I can help. Let's save and reboot. If for some reason this doesn't pull up automatic, you can, press connect here each time if you need to. Power battery, we're using a 3-cell, so we're going to leave everything like this, and I think it'll work fine. If you had a 4-cell or whatever, which we're not going to use on this setup, you can make changes here, but we're using a 3-cell, and we're going to leave it like that. PIDs. We're not going to mess with any of this. Again, tons of information. Change it if you want. You can try different things. I encourage it. Right now, it's really not necessary. It'll fly well. As you get used to it, and as you, learn about the controller, and as you learn about the controller a little bit more, this thing will do everything but sing to you. So you can make those changes at a later time. Right now, it's going to work really well. What we are going to do, though, is add some RC Expo. And what this is going to do, and it'll show you the curve here, it's going to make it a little bit easier to fly, a little bit user-friendly to fly. It's not going to be as sensitive. Let's just do it this way. We're going to go to 30. And here at 20. Okay? And let's save that. So this is the only change we're making. And that's just going to take some of the twitchiness out of for new pilots and give you a little bit of hand. Make the center of the stick a little bit duller to make it a little bit easier for you. We're going to leave everything like that. Again, wow, tons of things you can do with it. Check up on it later on. If you fly a lot, you will tune it to how you like it. Okay, we're done there. let's go to receiver. We're going to go ahead and plug in the battery. First of all, we're going to turn on our transmitter, and we'll turn it on. And we'll plug in our quad. Now if you notice, there's your throttle up and down, your yaw left and right, your pitch back and forward, your roll left and right. And you want it to go that same direction. If it's backwards, you would need to go in and reverse one of the channels if it was. But it's working out that this one, pitch is good, roll is good, yaw is good, our rudder, and your throttle is good. Mode switch, you see it working there. Remember, we had this one at 1100, we had it 1500, 1800. There you go. This we set up as our motor arming, and you see it working there. Okay, we're good. This defaults to aileron, elevator, throttle, rudder, and if you remember, we slide it back, aileron, there you are, channel 1, elevator or pitch, throttle, yeah. Okay, so everything's working just as it's shown here. If it was backwards or if it wasn't operating the same, you can, pick it or you could change it. But we do not need that. It's set where we want it. Everything else we're going to leave like it is. Again, as you get into it deeper, you can make some changes to it. Set it up the way you want it. We were going to arm the motors with a switch on switch C. So let's add a range. You can pick it here if you want to, or just flip the switch and it would automatically pick up. So this will be off, this will be on, and this will be on, just we don't want it to hit the switch by mistake. So we want to have it armed the second to this one and this one off here. Done. Angle mode. Again, we're going to flip the switch to pick it, and we want all the way up in angle mode, so we're just going to move it like that. Horizon, let's flip it again. We want it in the middle, and that's where it's at. We're going to set up acro trainer, and again we'll flip it. We want it all the way down, and let's move that. You can do this number if you want to, but it's moving it where we want it to be. Tons of things you could set up switches for, or the remaining switches if you wanted to. We're not going to mess with any of that right now. Again, later on, you can get into it all you want, even down to what they call lost beeper. So you could set a switch up, maybe even this one, to where if it crashed and or it went down, you couldn't find it. You can flip it and the beeper will go off and it alerts you where it's at. But we're not going to do that today. Let's do save. When it's all the way up, you see now it's lighting up. Horizon, acro trainer. We do arm. It'll show armed later on once we finish our setup. Okay, so we're good there. Motors tab. We're going to go ahead and turn the transmitter off. Okay, on motors tab, make sure the props are off, and they should be off until you're ready to fly. So never put on the props until you're ready to fly. Let's go ahead and turn this on, saying that we understand the risk. And let's do number 1, slider number 1. And if you notice, it's actually motor number 2 that's running. Number 2 is actually, slider 2 is actually number 4 motor running. So if you remember, we turned the controller and the ESC so the motors are mixed matched. We'll solve that now. So let's get us something to write with. And we'll put slider, motor, and slider number 1, we'll move it again. And that's motor number 2. So that'll be motor number 2. Slider number 2, and that's motor number 4. Slider number 3, that's motor number 1. Slider number 4, and that's number 3. Now we'll go in and correct that. Let's go to CLI, and we'll do resource. And let's move up and see. Motor number 1 is BOO. So slider number 1 is BOO. Slider number 2, B01. Slider number 3, A03. Slider number 4, A02. And again, right here. Okay, so let's get this fixed. Resource, space, motor, space, 2, space, BOO, enter. Resource, space, motor, space, 4, space, B01, enter. Resource, space, motor, space, 1, space, A03, enter. Resource, motor, 3, A02, enter. And then we'll type in save and enter. Now let's go check it and see how we did. Go back to motors. Let's tell it yes. Space, our slider number 1 is now indeed motor 1. Slider 2 is indeed 2. Slider 3 is motor number 3. Slider 4 is motor number 4. So we're in good shape. Let's go ahead and see the direction. Motor number 1 should be clockwise, and it is. Motor number 2 is counterclockwise, and it is. Number 4 is clockwise, and it is. Number 3 is counterclockwise, and it is. Good to go on all that. Let's unplug our battery. Let's move the master all the way up. We're calibrating our ESCs now. Let's plug it in. After the tone is finished, let's pull the master down. And it just calibrated all of the ESCs. Okay, so being that we're here and this is turned on, let's turn the transmitter on, and this is the arming switch, and it's arming. And it's off. Let's go ahead and test our failsafe. A way to test failsafe, when failsafe occurs, that you lose connection to your receiver, or if your battery or any reason it's not connected anymore to your craft, you want it just to stop and get to the ground. So we're going to test that. Let's arm it. And we're going to turn off the transmitter. And it did. That's exactly what we want it to do. If we lose communication with the quad, for whatever reason, we want it to stop flying. If it didn't do this, it would just continue flying at the speed and the direction you were going before. We don't want that. So let's go ahead and turn this back on. Okay. Let's try it again. And it went off. If you notice, you might hear it. It's real light. My buzzer is kind of messed up. You can hear the buzzer going off. So if this did happen and your battery was still intact, you would hear the buzzer and it'd be a lot louder. This buzzer is kind of messed up. It's not buzzing loud. So it'd be very loud buzz to help you find it. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. And we're good to go there. Okay, we're done there. OSD. Again, tons of information. I'm just going to give you enough to get you going. When you have your goggles on, when you first plug it in, you're going to see this logo, BetaFlight. It doesn't last very long. It goes right out. You can leave it on if you want to, or you can turn it off. I'm going to use my main battery voltage. When you do that, you see it pop up here. You can put it anywhere as you want, and I'm going to put it right here. The fly mode, let's go ahead and stick this on, or put this on your screen. Craft name, of course, QuadLugs. Current draw. I really don't need that. But anyway, you can pick and choose what you want. Now we do have warnings here, and it's going to show you low battery warning. I want that right in front of me. Again, you can put it anywhere as you want. And I think I'm going to put the main battery volt or usage right here. And I don't like the way that looks. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and put, there we go. Okay, and that's all I want on mine. And you can see there's tons. Here, this is your post-flight. So after you fly and you land, this is going to give you information. You can choose it or not choose it. I'm going to let you do that. Really, you could turn it off. Just whatever you want to see on it. So warnings, there's a ton of warnings here. You can adjust those to what you need. And I'm going to let you do that. So just mess around with it and see what you want on it. Now, when you put these on, the first time you put your goggles on, you may not see some of this stuff. If you don't, sometimes if it's here, it won't show up. It won't be in the area where your goggles are, showing you. So what you can do, if you don't see it in your goggles, this information that you had put there, just get back in your program, move these up, and with your goggles on, and you'll see that they show up. Okay, so first time that happened to me, I went, "Oh, where's it at? Where's it at?" And the whole time it was not in the right place. Okay, there we go. We're done there. Let's hit save. Black box, I'll let you get into that on your own a little bit later. This will monitor your whole flight so you can see if it's acting odd or something. And of course, we were in CLI earlier, and we did what we needed to do there. When you come out of this, it's going to automatically boot. So it looks like we're set up. We're ready to fly. Again, everything looks good here. Everything looks good. One thing we did not cover or use is BlHeli Suite. And let me do something before we actually pull it up again. Let's go ahead, disconnect, and let's pull up BlHeli Suite. It needs to be plugged in. If it's not, it'll tell you need to be. And we're going to do connect, but you want to be out of BetaFlight. You want to read setup. And this is pulling up your ESC. So if you needed to reverse a motor, this is where you would do it. You would go here and hit reverse. And that particular motor would be reversed. That's ESC number 1, 2. So, depending on which one it is, it would reverse it for you. So right now it's showing ESC 1 is normal, 2 is reversed, 3 is reversed, 4 is normal. Okay? And that's where you'd do it. As far as flashing new firmware onto your ESCs, I'm going to let you get into that. We're fine now, so we're not going to really mess with it. But in the future, it's something you can do, but I really wouldn't encourage it right now. You're good to go. Okay, so we're going to disconnect here. So if you had any motors reversed, this is where you would come to BlHeli, go to that program, and that's where you could do it. Super cool. So anyway, I think that's it. We're ready to go fly. This is Danny with QuadLugs. See you next time. I'll see you flying next time.